Hello there. In this lesson, we're going to learn about organ systems. Organ systems are a part of the way in which cells are organized within animal cells to get particular jobs done within a living thing. Of course, it starts with the cell. This here cell I've drawn represents a muscle cell. And then those cells can be grouped together to, contract together and work together, and that's called a tissue, where you have a bunch of cells working together. So this would be some muscle tissue. And then different tissues can work together to make organs, like this bladder that I've drawn here. And then different organs can work together to make an organ system, like the kidneys here, and the ureter, and the bladder, that are all part of the excretory system. So yeah, we're going to look at different organ systems within mostly humans we're going to focus on, but of course there's similar organ systems in all animals. So within any multicellular organism like us, you're going to have different cells that do different jobs. And here are a few that you might have heard of. We have some nerve cells. You can see they have these kind of stringy things sticking out the side. Those are called axons or dendrites. Then we have some fat cells here. You can see they're full of fats that we use for energy storage, fairly large. We've got these red blood cells that can flow around in our blood and carry the oxygen. We have some bone cells here. They're the little ones that you can see within the bone matrix. We have some muscle cells here. They tend to be kind of stripy looking, and they can contract and allow for movement. And then we have some epithelial cells, and these are lining cells like your skin or your digestive tract. So all these cells are going to have different functions in different places and contribute to the overall function of the organism. So all those different types of cells that we just looked at come from a single cell that we all start from, called an embryo. And that embryo divides, and you end up with a group of cells that could become any other type of cell. And those are called stem cells. And so those stem cells can then eventually become all those different types: the nerve, the muscle, the fat, the blood. All of those different types of cells originate from stem cells, and then different parts of the DNA get turned on or off to change those cells into those other types to do specific functions. Now, as you get older, of course, we're not embryos anymore, but there are other stem cells within our body, for instance, in our bone marrow, that also continue to undergo this specialization. So these new cells are formed, and then they can also be turned on or off to become different types of cells again. But it's not quite as variable. With an embryonic stem cell, you can pretty much make that into anything. But the other more adult stem cells, they are more specialized and can only become a certain smaller range of cells from that point. So the next level of organization now within an animal are that the cells of various types have to work together. And when you have a whole bunch of cells of the same type working together, that's called a tissue. And there are four main types of tissues that you can find inside of animals. First one is epithelial cells, and these are things we mentioned earlier, like our skin or the linings of organs inside of us, like our respiratory and digestive tracts. Nervous tissue, of course, that you'd find in your brain or spinal cord or any of our sensory organs. Muscle tissue, of course, for contraction and movement, whether it's internally or to move the whole body from place to place. And connective tissues like bone or cartilage that hold organs to one another and allow them to be held in place. So our next level of organization are the organs. So you can see I've drawn a stomach here. I'll just label it because it's not the greatest drawing in the world. And I've drawn a little window here into the stomach so you can kind of see the different tissues and appreciate that they're working together to do the functions of the stomach. So first tissue, of course, is epithelial. So within the stomach, stomach makes gastric juice and has the acid and those enzymes that help break down food chemically. There are also muscles, allow the stomach to churn and to move the food around from place to place within the stomach and eventually leave. There are nervous tissues that are part of the stomach that sense when food is there, or what type of food there is, and triggers the release of those chemicals. They're going to send signals to the brain's going to send signals back. So nerve tissue is a big part of the function as well. And finally, some connective tissue to hold that stomach in place and allow it to do what it needs to do without interfering with the function of other organs that might be nearby. So that's just one example. Of course, all of our organs within a body have a combination of tissues that allow them to function. Our next level of organization is to put those organs together and form systems. So organ systems are what we're going to spend much of the rest of this unit looking at, and it is a combination of organs that do various functions together. This first one here is probably familiar to you. It is a combination of, we've got teeth and tongue, we've got the esophagus, we've got the stomach, we've got these intestines. And so together we call that the digestive system, which of course takes food, breaks it down into a form that can be absorbed by the cells and the rest of the body. And so those organ systems are going to work together in order to make an organism, which is the whole animal itself. And that's what we're going to focus on for the remainder of this unit. So the focus in this course is going to be on human organ systems. But of course, in other animals, they're going to have similar systems doing similar jobs, just maybe in slightly different ways depending on the environment in which the animal lives. And so if you like that, you might take some more biology and learn about how all those features work in other animals too. So as far as systems that we're going to focus on, we're going to spend some time on the big three here. We've got the respiratory system, which has all these features that allow for gas exchange with our environment. We've got the circulatory system, which can carry some of those gases to and from the cells in the body, along with nutrients from the digestive system and wastes. We also have, of course, the digestive system we mentioned earlier there. It's going to break down nutrients for use within the cells of the body and provide it in a way that can be used. We're going to look at some more too. Further organ systems we'll explore include the musculoskeletal system, which is exactly what it sounds like. You got the bones, which is our skeleton, and we got all these muscles. Some of them have really cool Latin names like latissimus dorsi, which you might have seen if you ever go to a gym and look at some of the diagrams on the wall. And often those guys will give a short form name like lats to not have to say the whole Latin thing. We've got the nervous system here. The nervous system includes things like our brain and our spinal cord, along with all the peripheral nerves that bring information from the rest of the body and allow the brain to communicate the other way as well. We've got the integumentary system. That might be a new word for you. Integumentary system is talking about things like the skin or the linings of our digestive tract that form a barrier between the external environment and the internal. And of course, there are different layers there that allow for its function. A few other organ systems that we're not going to spend too much time on in this course, but you might in another course if you find what we do here interesting. The excretory system, which we mentioned at the outset, that is the system that involves the kidneys and the ureter and the bladder, all working to remove wastes from the blood and excrete them as urine. Then we've got the endocrine system, which is a cool group of organs that all release hormones that control bodily processes with those chemicals. A lot of different glands here. We've got some glands up in your brain that release hormones. We've got some glands here that you probably heard of: thyroid gland, thymus gland, adrenal glands. I've probably heard of that one before, right? And of course, glands that are part of reproduction. Which brings us to our last one, of course, which is the reproductive system, which is different in males and females, that allows for making babies. And so you'll get that as well, whether it's here or in gym class, so you can learn about how all those functions work as well. Okie dokie, well, a little fun here because I always like to have 10 slides. Let's see if we can figure out which organ system we're referring to if I give you the organs involved. So we got heart, arteries, and veins. And if you said circulatory system, you're right. Here's the next group, eyes, brain, and spine. Which system would this be? If you said nervous system, you're correct. Next group, trachea, lungs, pharynx. If you said respiratory system, well done. Finally, kidneys, ureter, bladder. One from the very beginning. This is our excretory system. Thank you for playing Name That System. All right, hope that helped. Talk to you soon.